Okay, let's dive into a huge contradiction, a real paradox, right at the heart of Canadian society. Drawing on the work of Dr. Shibao Guo, we're going to look at why Canada goes out of its way to recruit the world's brightest minds, only to then turn around and pretty much sideline them.
I mean, think about it. On one side, you have this super sophisticated point system, right? It's designed to pick the best of the best, top-tier education, tons of experience. But on the other side, so many of these professionals face this constant struggle with underemployment. What is going on here? That's the question we're unpacking today.
So the promise is, hey, we want you for your skills. It's supposed to be based on merit. But the reality? Well, a whopping 60% of new immigrants don't actually work in the field they were trained in. And let's be clear, this isn't just a few unlucky stories. This points to a massive systemic problem.
All right, so where does this all start to go wrong? Well, for a lot of people, the very first roadblock is this absolute labyrinth of paperwork. I mean, trying to get your foreign credentials recognized is a journey in itself. Let's take a look at what that actually involves.
Yeah, this isn't some simple, straight line from A to B. It's a total maze. You've got to deal with provincial assessment services, then you have to navigate these professional regulatory bodies, then you're applying to universities to see if your degree is equivalent, and after all that, you still have to convince individual employers. And the kicker? They all have their own rules.
And why is it such a maze? Because the whole system is just broken up into pieces. A lot of immigrants get here and they realize the information they had was terrible. There's no single national organization in charge of this stuff, and for most jobs, there aren't even agreed upon national standards. It just turns into this personal, bureaucratic nightmare.
So, okay, we've seen how frustrating the process is, but what's the actual cost of this whole mess? We're not just talking about the personal toll on individuals, though that's huge. This actually hits the entire country, right in the wallet. Get ready for this number. $2.4 billion. With a B. That's the estimated loss in earnings every single year, just because Canada isn't using the skills of the people it worked so hard to bring here. This isn't just a social problem, folks. It's a staggering waste of talent and money. And of course, behind that giant number are real people. Take the story of Tina Uritin. She was a nuclear medicine specialist from Turkey, a field where Canada actually needs more people. She spent years jumping through all the hoops. She passed every single exam, but she still couldn't get a residency spot. In the end, she just had to give up. She became an ultrasound technician, a job she was completely overqualified for.
You know, there's actually a name for this. It's called the education penalty. And it's exactly what it sounds like. If you have the same degrees, the same experience, an immigrant professional in Canada makes on average only half the extra money, the earnings premium, that a native-born Canadian does. Your education is literally valued at 50 cents on the dollar.
Here's another one that'll make you shake your head. A nurse named Milica Serafsek. She had 17 years of experience in a military hospital in Sarajevo. After going through years of upgrading here, she was told she still needed 35 more hours of training in obstetrics. This is a woman who had delivered thousands of babies. It just shows you, sometimes it's not about what you know. It's about checking some arbitrary box that says Canadian experience.
Okay, so the messed up bureaucracy, the billions of dollars lost, those are really just the symptoms. To get to the real cause, Dr. Guo's research says we need to dig a lot deeper. We have to look at the hidden ideas, the ideologies that are really driving this.
And a key idea here is a concept called democratic racism. Now that might sound like a contradiction, and it is. It's this weird paradox where a society can truly believe in things like fairness and equality, but at the same time have systems and attitudes in place that lead to discrimination. It's how inequality can keep going, even when most people aren't trying to be unfair.
So what are these hidden roots? The first one is all about how we view knowledge. There's this unspoken assumption that if something is different, it must be deficient. That if your experience comes from outside North America or Western Europe, it's just seen with suspicion. Like it's not quite as good or it won't fit in here.
And the second root? It's how we measure knowledge. We tend to use the single one-size-fits-all standard that we pretend is totally objective. But that approach completely ignores how and where people learn their skills. And Dr. Guo points out, this isn't neutral at all. It actually ends up protecting the people who are already in power in those professions and keeps out the competition. So you take the bureaucratic mess, you add the economic hit, and you mix in these deep-seated biases about where good knowledge comes from, and you get a really powerful and, frankly, pretty shocking conclusion about what's actually going on here.
The argument is that this whole process of credential recognition, it's acting like a modern-day head tax. Now, it's not openly racist like the old head tax was against Chinese immigrants, but it has a similar effect. It's a subtle, systematic barrier that effectively excludes people and protects the way things are.
So, the takeaway here is pretty stunning. The system isn't just broken, it might actually be working perfectly as an invisible gatekeeper. And that leaves us with a really big question to chew on. You know, we always say that knowledge is power. So, whose knowledge and by extension, whose power do we really value?